Thanks, Mike. Good morning, Congress. Right from the top of the start of this General Council report, I'd like to thank our excellent President, Mike Arnott, for his work throughout the past year and his expert chairing of Congress over the past few days. As you heard, Mike has been the long-standing Secretary of Dundee Trades Council, but I want to say he's also been a long-standing and very committed General Council member, and he's really been a highly effective voice for trades councils on our ruling body. And for many years, he was a representative of workers right here in this building, so I think he has been a really perfect chair for us being here in Dundee this year. Many of you will be familiar with Mike's vast knowledge and track record of campaigning on and highlighting both international issues and labour movement history. And I can honestly say it's been an absolute pleasure to work so closely with Mike over the past year. Every day I've spent alongside him has been an opportunity for me to learn new lessons from our movement's rich history. And I think that understanding of how, as a movement of workers, we've overcome the really huge challenges of the past is a valuable resource that we can all tap into for the future. And the debates we've seen over recent days prove that we're no short of challenges right now, but neither are we short on ideas about how to achieve economic justice for the workers that we represent. We remain in a cost of living crisis, which represents the biggest fall in living standards since records began. We're facing drastic cuts to our public services, primarily caused by the UK government's relentless austerity programme, but that has been reinforced by Scottish Government inaction. Our right to strike is being attacked by a tired, corrupt Tory government that is rotten to the core. Policymakers across the board appear unwilling to countenance the kind of public intervention that we really need to ensure a just transition to net zero. And we're witnessing the genocide in Gaza, which the UK government is absolutely complicit in as the world watches on. But there are cracks of light that offer hope to working class people, and in my view, the collective action that workers have taken in recent years is the brightest light of all. Because across Scotland in the last 12 months, we've seen more than 450 strikes involving more than 165,000 workers. Workers in schools, colleges, universities, councils, on our railways and buses, and right across the private sector have all taken the difficult decision to go on strike, just to get a decent pay rise onto the table or cuts to services off the table. And while it remains an absolute scandal that already struggling workers have had to take strike action to protect their pay and protect jobs, the fact remains that taking strike action works. STUC research shows that in the last 2 years, workers in Scotland have won more than £4.4 billion of additional pay through collective bargaining. And more than £3 billion of that money was money the bosses and the government ministers claimed wasn't available. It's money that would never have got into the hands of working people had unionised workers not acted collectively and fought for that money. These figures show us that across Scotland, it's trade unions that have been the most progressive force, a force for wealth redistribution and a force for closing the gender pay gap. The STUC has unashamedly taken these arguments for redistribution into the political sphere. As the First Minister acknowledged, the Scottish Government wouldn't have introduced a new tax rate for those earning over $75,000 had it not been for the STUC's campaigning. But it's not enough, Congress. We need politicians, all from every party, to commit to using the full powers of the Scottish Parliament to deliver on tax reforms. the majority of which focus on wealth and property and have not been delivered yet, and these could raise £3.7 billion extra each year if enacted. As well as progressive tax reform, with more than 100,000 workers in Scotland on 0 hours contracts, the need for improved workers' rights has never been clearer. That's why we welcome Labour's New Deal for working people and the commitment made by Angela Rayner to our Congress last year, repeated by Anis Sarwar this year, to implement this within the first 100 days of a UK Labour government. A ban on 0 hour contracts, employment rights from day one, fair pay agreements that would reverse the decades-long decline in collective bargaining and repeal of the Tories' pernicious anti-strike laws, these measures do represent the biggest expansion of workers' rights in a generation, and they cannot come a moment too soon for our members. But as we knew would happen, the business lobby and other vested interests are on manoeuvres. They know the tide is turning, they know a new government is coming at UK level, and they will do all they can to exert their influence. In recent weeks, we've seen Lord Mandelson join the CBI in urging Starmer to soften the New Deal. And we know that good things don't just happen for working people. It never gets laid on a plate for us. We have to unite and we have to fight hard for them. So it's up to us to ensure that we get an incoming Labour government that fully understands the New Deal for workers is not up for negotiation. But as crucial as that New Deal is, we've also continued to call for and press UK Labour to devolve employment laws to Scotland. It's not just us calling for this, it's the Scottish Labour Party, the Scottish Government, and as of last year, it's the TUC too. The STUC was central to the development of the first devolution settlement that delivered a Scottish Parliament, and we will continue to push this issue up the political agenda until we deliver on it. Alongside policy changes to redistribute income and wealth and extend workers' rights, we've continued to make the case for an extension of public ownership in social care, in energy and in transport. These are all sectors of the economy that are crucial to how we live our lives, and they're all sectors that see huge profits sucked out of public finances through outsourcing, corporate financial engineering and tax avoidance. The Scottish Government has talked up the National Care Service Bill as the biggest public sector reform since devolution, and it should be a real opportunity to create a care service that delivers high-quality care, delivered through local authorities by well-paid and valued care workers. But just last week, I stood in solidarity with GMB home care workers from a range of local authorities who were still having to take strike action to demand equal pay. Congress, this is an absolute scandal, and on their behalf, my message to Scottish Government is this. You can't have a fit-for-purpose national care service or be a fair work world leader if you're trying to deliver care services on the cheap, if you're undervaluing and exploiting women workers, if you're slashing council tax budgets and freezing the council tax. It's time to pay up for our care services because the working conditions of care workers are the living conditions of our loved ones receiving that care. In Congress, I come with a warning. If we continue to see cuts to our public services, then our local authorities now stand on the brink of collapse. We are already seeing councils that are barely able to function, with cut after cut being inflicted upon them from central government. And there is another way. Council workers can no longer bear the strain of these government cuts, but it doesn't have to be this way. The Scottish Government must act now to save our local authorities. And the STUC recognises that these political arguments and the methods that can help bring change about need to be at the fingertips of all our people at every level of our movement. That's why in recent months we've delivered cost of living political education courses to hundreds of members, and we hope to expand that in the coming year. It's why we've organised the Strike Conference and a range of other organising events to share good practice across our movement and bring workers together on a cross-union basis across key sectors. Congress, the most recent of these organising sessions, was with the legendary US organiser Jane McAlevey, whom the General Council was heartbroken to hear has very sadly this week announced that she's standing down from any further work commitments, and she's very sadly entered into palliative care. Many affiliates in this hall, including myself, will have worked closely with Jane over the years, and I wanted to give Congress this opportunity to send Jane a message of our sincere thanks for the massive contribution that she's made to our movement here in Scotland. Thank you, Jane, for all you have done. Thank you, Congress. Congress, our programme of organising, learning and political education, bringing together members, reps, organisers and officers from across Scotland's trade unions is crucial if we are going to produce a new generation of trade union activists and leaders. Because if we fail to plant the seeds of worker education and build on the lessons learned from our current actions, then we fail to nourish and grow our movement. These values have also been reflected in our ongoing work to engage with affected workers and communities in campaigning for a genuine just transition, one that puts the needs of our members and their communities first. But despite all the talk of a just transition from Scottish Government, Scotland still feels like the poor relation of the UK on renewable energy, because while turnover for the investors in this sector in Scotland has increased by around 4 billion, we've seen around 4,000 jobs disappearing. We're clear that a just transition requires far more serious investment and joined-up planning from both UK and Scottish governments. It's not rocket science. We just need a joined-up investment and skills strategy for the next generation of clean energy and support for a homegrown manufacturing supply chain for our energy industry that will deliver real, high-quality, unionised jobs on the ground here in Scotland. That's what's going to give confidence and future prosperity to our communities who rely on our oil and gas industries, like workers here in the North East and those in Grangemouth, where even record profits of 107 million are not enough to stop a billionaire and the Chinese government from throwing workers on the scrap heap and undermining our energy security. The STUC continues to give support and work with our trades councils, and can I say that I'm particularly proud and grateful for the work put in by local trades council activists to organising against the far right in their communities. And I want to echo the call from the delegate in Moray Trades Council yesterday. Please ensure that your branches are affiliating and sending delegates to your local trades councils. They need your money, they need your input, and they need new blood. And we as a movement actually need the important links that they provide with working class communities right across Scotland. That grounds us. And finally, Congress, please allow me to thank you all once again for the unity shown yesterday by everyone in getting behind the General Council's statement on Palestine. That unity will be our strength as we take forward the actions agreed in the statement and do all we can to fight for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Congress, in concluding, Congress, let me tell you that I'm immensely proud of the work that's been put in over the past year by the whole STUC staff team, by all of our equalities committees, by our General Council in helping us to deliver on the policies and the priorities of Congress. Just as I'm proud of every worker across Scotland who has stood alongside their colleagues and taken collective action when it mattered, and every single rep that's gone above and beyond to help and assist their members. The last year has shown us that there are vibrant rays of light in Scotland's trade union movement. Our challenge now is to force open new windows of opportunity and to continue to build a strong movement, one that will force the politicians to follow our ideas. So in the period ahead, remember, what our members have shown us over recent years is the power of workers winning together. So keep going, keep struggling, keep pushing, keep organising, keep building and keep growing our movement, because if we keep doing that, then where we lead, the politicians will follow. Solidarity,